Today is September 14th, 2012. I am an alcoholic. Since about the age of 20, I guess I've been trying to get a hold of this, and at the moment I feel like I have a fairly good hold on it, but it is something that I guess I have to work at every day. And part of that is continuing to acknowledge it and to share my thoughts and feelings about it, hence this video. When I was about 15, I went to a keg party and everyone was drinking, and I hadn't been avoiding alcohol until that point, but I had never been to a party like this before where it was readily available to me. So it had sort of never really occurred to me either way. I mean, it's not like I was sheltered. My parents drank wine with dinner and that sort of thing, but I didn't come from a life where alcohol abuse was in my face. I didn't see that kind of party atmosphere side of alcohol until this keg party at about the age of 15, and didn't hesitate, I got right into it. Drank beer, and a lot of it, and had an absolutely awesome time. I got really drunk, but I just remember how good it felt. And I don't think I drank immediately straight after that. I was in school and living a normal teenage life, but anytime the opportunity arose for me to drink, I suppose I took that opportunity with both hands. If there was a trigger, if there was one specific point in time when I went from being a casual teenage drinker to something more than that, I was about 17 and I was living at home, and we'd had a family fight. My family were pretty close and pretty happy and close and normal for the most part, but this was just one of those times when I don't know what happened. It was like an explosion, and I think every family has those times when mean things are said, and it didn't get physical, but it was just one of those times. It was kind of just like, I guess, everyone in the family's issues that had been bottled up all just came out in this massive confrontation. I don't even remember the details of everything that was said, but I just remember being really upset and leaving. I had a car, so I must have been 17. I went to a friend's place, and he and I got a bottle of whiskey and drank the whole bottle that night. And I didn't go to work the next day. I have a feeling I had that whole week off work, called up and said, I was too sick to come in or something. If my memory serves me right, I pretty much drank for that whole week, and it wasn't like I was so upset from the family drama that I needed to drown that out for a week. But now this is all in hindsight. I haven't thought about this stuff for a long time, but I'm thinking that maybe I made that family drama bigger in my head than it really was as an excuse to drink. I don't think I really ever went home after that. That friend who I went to that night, he and I were close friends, and we ended up getting a house together and renting a house, and we drank a lot during that time. I think I began drinking on a daily basis at around the age of 18. Sometimes it was during a party, and other times it was hanging out at home watching a movie with my housemate. But at some point in time, I discovered the joy of drinking at home alone. And that's the dangerous part, and that's where my problem, having the desire to drink and enjoy drinking and getting drunk is one thing, but when you're drinking to excess alone on purpose, that's when there's a problem. I ended up getting my own apartment, and I would stay home alone drinking. Now, I'm not a huge, and never have been a huge socialite. I've always been quite solitary, and I enjoy my own company. I like being alone, and that was enhanced dramatically by alcohol. I would love nothing more than spending an evening at home alone browsing the internet, on to instant message chats and listening to music and watching videos and just alone. And I would drink a lot. I got to a point where I was not, I don't want to say reclusive, but you know, if I'm being really honest, I was basically a recluse. I would not leave the house unless I had to, and I would go grocery shopping once a week, and I would drive way out of my way to go to the store that was open 24 hours a day, and I would do my grocery shopping at 3 in the morning. Now, when I look back and I talk about this sounds awfully ridiculous. At the time, it didn't seem that weird to me. It's just that I hated people, like crowds of people. I hated being in crowds, I hated shopping. And I still do, but all of this was always enhanced by alcohol. So as much as my experience, the fun of actually drinking, the feeling it gave me inside, the fun I would have by myself on the internet, how much better music would sound to me when I was listening to it when I was drunk, all of that was countered by the fact that it made all of the negative parts of my personality much stronger as well. I never made a secret of the fact that I was drinking. When, you know, say a friend would invite me out for dinner or something, I don't think I was really that secretive about saying, you know, I'd rather stay home alone and drink. It's a wonder I ever held on to any friends. Now I look back on this, you know, can you imagine calling a friend and saying, hey, let's have dinner? And hearing, no, I'm gonna stay home alone and drink, that would be more fun. It sounds so fucked up in hindsight, but at the time, everything seemed pretty normal to me. I just didn't want to have a part in real life, if you will. Oh, doesn't sound good. Anyway, when I was about 22 or 23, I was at home one night having one of my binges, and I remember speaking with my mother. Now, you know, I was drunk. My memory would always get erased by alcohol as well, so I don't remember the exact details of what Mum and I were talking about, but I remember that in that phone call she was crying because she was so concerned about me and hearing the condition I was in, as in drunk out of my skull, had her so worried she was convinced I was going to die. You know, you can drink yourself to death. And when I look back, I can't believe that I never had to have my stomach pumped because I would drink so much, and it never felt like I was drinking to excess when I was doing it. Like a few beers on the couch while watching a movie, which is all it was in my head. But that would be like 15, 20, 25 beers in a sitting. And I didn't think that that was excessive at the time. So then, you know, I've got my mother crying on the phone, and when you hear your mother so concerned about you, certainly for me anyway, it's like it snapped some feeling of awareness in me. Whether or not it just pulled down that sheet of denial, whatever it was, from that point I realized, oh fuck, there's actually something wrong with me and I need to do something about it. As I said, I was about 23, and I thought at that time that I was going to conquer the issue. The following day I went to AA. I googled, you know, local AAs in my area, and I found one, and I went there, and I actually stood up and walked out after about half an hour because I realized AA was not going to be what I needed to get through this. AA is about, it's religious. It's about finding and accepting Jesus. And to me it felt like people looking for a religious excuse. Like, you know, you can hand all the responsibility off to the man in the clouds. When that's not really, I mean, I'm not religious, and I'm not going to pretend that I am in order to fit in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. So I just realized that that wasn't going to work for me. So I knew that I had to do this alone. And I sort of did, but okay, so this was 2007. And by that stage, I was already doing this. I was already on YouTube vlogging. I've been vlogging on YouTube since 2006. So I had people on YouTube that I used to just sit on the internet at night and talk to my people, or, you know, followers or whatever you call it, subscribers. I would just sit on the internet and talk to them because, okay, I was home alone drinking and on purpose, but my company, I felt like my company was the alcohol and it was my friends on the internet. And even not friends, people that I didn't know them, but they were watching me. I felt at home sitting in front of my webcam. So when I realized that, you know, I was going to do something, AA wasn't for me, I turned to YouTube and I put all of the cards out on the table and admitted for the first time, not really to the people watching me, but to myself, I've spiraled out of control. The term alcoholic or alcoholism, which always used to seem like some fictional thing that you hear about in movies and TV shows that happened to other people, I realized that those terms actually relate directly to me, and I have to own those terms. I have to acknowledge them, because if I don't acknowledge them and acknowledge the problem, then I'm never going to get over it. So a bold step was that I poured all of the alcohol I had in the house down the sink. That was symbolic. I felt like I had to do that. You know, I see people quit smoking, smokers. Yeah, I'm going to quit next week, just as soon as I finish this packet. And I never really take those people seriously. If you intend to quit, you don't finish off what you've got. That kind of defeats the purpose. And I wasn't trying to prove anything to anyone other than myself. I knew I had to pour this stuff down the sink, and I did. And I actually, from that point, cold, stone sober, cold turkey, whatever you call it, I lasted over a year without having any drink. During that time, I lost a lot of weight and I became more social and more energetic and more optimistic and positive, because I'd spent so long being this in the darkness, if you will, in this shadow of myself. I'd become just this big, fat, bloated, puffy, negative, miserable person. Sorry, you know, talking about myself like that, sometimes that feels like a different person. But it's amazing, actually, you know. So I quit alcohol and I become something else. I become happy and I become thin and social, and, you know, I start dating and just being a normal person. I moved from the hick town that I grew up in to Sydney, which, you know, in Australia, Sydney is the big city. Sydney's the place to be, and I wanted a part of that, and I did that. After a while, I began to feel like the term alcoholism or alcoholic and all that stuff didn't relate to me anymore, because I had been going so well for so long, and look at how my life had improved. I guess I forgot that alcohol was the thing that was stopping me from being like this that whole time before. So I started telling myself that I didn't have a problem with alcohol and that I could drink casually from that point. I remember being out to dinner with friends one night. Everyone was drinking beer and I thought, yeah, I can have a beer. Yeah, of course I can. Look at me, I've gone all this time without having a drink. I've proven I can do it. And what's the worst that can happen? I mean, yeah, I'll do it. I'll have a drink. I had a drink. I had a beer. And I can remember putting the glass to my mouth the first time. I can still feel how good it felt to drink it. And I drank more that night. And then maybe four or 5 days later, I drank again. And then 3 days later. the window of time between each drink rapidly decreased to the point where I would say within a month, I'd like to say a few months, but in all seriousness, it was probably like a month, I was back to drinking full time. And I undid all of the good I had done for myself the year prior and became the exact fucking person that I was back in 2007. I packed all the weight back on. I became withdrawn, antisocial, pessimistic. You know, talking about this now and looking back, I just want to slap myself. I completely ruined my life again. My life was a shambles. I somehow crawled out of the ruins and became somebody that I wanted to be. And then I pissed it all away again. By this stage, so we're up to 2009. I'm drinking full time every fucking day. I'm fat again and just back to the same miserable dark hole. Luckily, this time it only lasted about a year. I drank that way and was that shell of a man again. I can't... Yes, I can. I was going to say I can't remember how I finally gave it up for good, but I do remember. During that year where I had been, you know, undoing all the good, I went through a series of about 7 jobs. I'd start a job and I would last a few weeks and then I'd leave again. Sometimes I would walk out like midway through the shift too. Fuck this! This isn't for me. I kept telling myself that every place I was going was wrong. There's something wrong with them. I don't want to be in this environment. Turns out it was just myself that wasn't right. You know, all I wanted to do was be at home alone drinking. And being in a workplace around other people and being sober, that didn't appeal to me. So after this year of doing this, I finally get a job that I like and feel that I fit in and feel that I belong. And I knew this immediately from the job interview. I knew this is actually a job that I'm going to enjoy being at every day, and I'm not going to have to force myself to get out of bed and go there every day. And 3 weeks into the job, I went out one evening, got blind drunk, stayed up all night. I think I just passed out and just slept through my alarm. And this was my 3rd week of this job. I finally wake up and realize what the fuck I've done. I can't remember what excuse I gave, but it was enough to, you know, for me to keep my job. And I realized from then I have to fucking do something about this. I've got to stop. I've got to be who I want to be again. And that was enough, luckily, of a scare to shake me back into kind of reality and stop drinking. And I did. That was late 2009. I stopped and I lost all the weight again, and I started dating again and being social and all of the things like before. I know that the cause of that darkness and what will take me back to that dark place is alcohol. I know how good life can be without it. I know how good life can be without alcohol. Life is too good without it. I don't want to be that person anymore. But I know if I have a drink, that's exactly what's going to fucking happen. There's no drinks at weddings. There's no glass of wine at dinner. There's no Sunday barbecue with a beer. There's none of that. I can't have one. I've spent my 20s discovering that, fooling myself into believing that I can and learning the very, very hard way that I actually can't. I wrote a letter to alcohol once in 2009. The reason I wrote a letter to alcohol was once I read in a book or an article or an interview or somewhere that when Elton John gave up cocaine in like 1990 or something, part of his recovery process from rehab was that he had to write a letter to cocaine and say goodbye. And I just thought that was really kind of symbolic. So I did it. I wrote one for alcohol, and I will leave you now with that letter. Dear alcohol, it's time that I leave you once and for all. You've been such a strong influence in my life for far too long, and I've not had the strength to say no to you. When we were separated in 2007, I blossomed like a flower. It was a great time for me. Everything in my life improved. But you came back a year or more later and wanted to get together again socially, and I foolishly agreed. In the following few months, you worked your way back into my life and undid all the good I had done for myself in your absence. Why did I allow this to happen? Why did I allow you back in? I know you're bad for me, and I know you're not trying to help me, so what's wrong with me? I'm addicted to you, for some reason. But guess what? I found the strength again to divorce you. I've got that drive in me to slam the door on you and become the flower I was before. You're very good at disguising yourself as fun, as something I want or need. You can stalk me, you can sneak up on me, but I've fallen for it too many times. I'm stronger than you are, and I will beat you. Okay, bye.